I hit him like.
My name is Brad Barnes, and we're at Bruno Bastos Jiu-Jitsu Academy in Midland, Texas.
Sweet. So, I found you guys on Instagram, which is really cool. That's really interesting to me. But we'll get into that in here in a minute. Tell us a little bit about what you do, how long you've been around, why do you enjoy doing this so much?
As far as for me, I've been doing this. I had my first professional fight in August of 2000.
Oh wow!
So a while back, and then we've been here. I've been here. 2000 to 2005, moved to Houston to train and to just try to get out of Midland, Texas for a little bit, and then moved back here, and I've been back here since June of 2006, and I have had this particular gym with my partner, Professor Bruno Bastos. We've been here for 5 years.
Okay, cool. So what kind of things do you guys do? Like, I know we talked a little bit earlier, a minute ago, about like you've got some classes that happen here, and then you also have professionals that come in every once in too, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that. What's going on there?
So this is a martial arts academy. It's a martial arts school. So the idea behind this place is we are trying to offer the highest level of training people can have in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, kickboxing, MMA. The focus here is on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because our focus is on building up something where people can do it for an entire lifetime. You can't fight forever,
right?
You know, so that's really not the focus of the gym. The focus of the gym is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. However, we do have guys here that want to fight, and we support that. We just want them to understand that the goal is to be a martial artist first,
right,
and not a fighter first, because martial arts lasts forever.
That's interesting to me. So explain to me the difference, because when you said that, I can imagine a bunch of people watching wouldn't really understand the disconnect between martial artist and a fighter.
Right.
You know, probably because of movies and whatnot, but kind of, you know what I mean?
You know, martial artists are fighters. Fighters are not martial artists. You know, it's
right.
It's just the mentality and the way you train. There's so many people that their idea of training is, let's go in, let's stretch where I touch my toes, stretch my arms back, and then we just beat each other up for an hour. And I think that kind of training leads to long-term health problems. Myself, I suffer from brain damage, post-concussive syndrome, which causes all different other kinds of health issues. So what we want people in martial arts, and what I mean by that is we want them to have the focus on improvement. Mental improvement, physical improvement, making themselves a better person, pushing themselves all the time.
Right.
Fighters, their mentality is, if I don't have a fight, I'm not going to train.
Right.
If I don't have a goal where I'm going to get paid, I'm not going to be there. And when I go there, I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to do what I need to do. Right. So our goal is to make people martial artists. That's what we mean by that, as opposed to just fight.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense to me. It's something I'm very like. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm very much a motivational character a lot. I was in education for a while, so that connection makes a lot of sense to me, because like you were talking about, like training for an internal purpose rather than the external one that's so interesting to me, because I can see just a lot of people not inside the activity don't see that part. You know what I mean? For sure.
You know, people have their idea about what this is based on what they see, like you said, what they see on TV. So they will watch a training clip on a UFC breakdown when they're hyping a fight, and they'll think that, all they do is they go in, they spar, and they do some cool conditioning stuff, and they wear a training mask, which doesn't work. Don't buy a training mask. It doesn't work. There's no science to back it. But they think that's kind of the whole thing. And then when they get involved in the sport, unfortunately, there's gyms that are made by people that they think that's the whole thing too. Yeah. Because they get involved as a fan, not as a student. Right. So they don't know how to train their guys. So then we have entire generations, entire groups of people that get through this that they don't know how to cut weight properly. They don't know how to work their guys out the right way. They don't know how to mitigate injury. You know, they don't know how to do any of this stuff. So that's why we would rather have someone come in when they walk in off the street and say, "Hey, I want to fight. I want to do a cage fight." All right, do jiu-jitsu for 6 months. You don't get to throw any punches. Yeah. What? No, I want to be a fighter. That's fine. Do jiu-jitsu for 6 months first, or just come to kickboxing. You don't get to take anybody down. You don't do anything. You're just going to learn how to jab the right way. And they take it as an insult and they don't come back. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because that's not the kind of people you want in here.
Yeah,
you know, we want people that are coachable, that have a good attitude. That's what we're striving for.
Yeah, this is so intriguing to me because it's this is the kind of things that like parents expect out of any activity their kids are involved with, right? But because of like the nature of what's going on television, like, you know, UFC was super big for a while. I can see a lot of parents being turned away from this. But you're asking,
you'd be shocked.
Really?
I have parents that call, say, I've got a 10-year-old son and we'd like him to do MMA.
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever been elbowed in the head?
Oh, right.
No. Would you like to be? No. Well, then why do you want your kid to do it?
Yeah.
You know, that to me makes zero sense.
Whenever parents don't really like, is it so? Is there I guess like parents are like want their kids to do something that maybe they wish they had done?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we always kind of put off our insecurities and the things that we can't do off on our kids. Yep. You know, and
which is so weird to me. Which is so weird to me.
Yeah. We've got, you know, jiu-jitsu has it where, you know, you got these parents that they come in here and they watch their kids and they try to coach from the sideline, or they take them home and they pull up a YouTube video.
What does that sound like? So I don't know haters here, but like Permian football. we all graduated from Permian High School. We were in band. We were super nerds about it. But
I got like Batman tattoos. I'm totally good about being a nerd.
So no, and that's super interesting. That's a real interesting phenomenon that happens with a lot, like in any really sport like that, where they're like, you're right, parents like put this on their entire self ego is placed on their kids sometimes.
Absolutely.
Which is super unhealthy. Right, but I mean, you know what I mean.
And you see it where these parents will come in here and they will pressure their kids. They'll be like leaning over the edge of that railing, and just watching their kid like a hawk, and their kid's paying more attention to the parent than they are the instruction. And you know, we have. This is not he would say the same thing, and he would also preface the same way. It's not being cocky, it's being confident. There's no arrogance in it, it's just the truth. You know, where they're at, and his father actually say this all the time to him, which is funny, we were talking about this week, you know, where there are facts, there's no need for arrogance. It's just the way it is. So the facts are, we have one of the best coaches in the world here. But people won't trust him to do what he's supposed to do, and they will feel like they need to add their 2 cents.
Yeah.
You know, thank God that we have him doing that job, and thank God also that he runs it the way he does, where these parents, either they learn it because he'll say something, or they'll learn it through osmosis, watching the other parents and go, all right, I need to, you know, I'm not in there doing it. I'm not in there sweating and doing the burpees and getting my arm taken off and getting choked.
No kidding.
You know, so they figure it out, and then sometimes even, you know, it works out well where those parents see their kids doing it, and then they kind of, whether it's insecurity or they want to know what it's like, they'll jump on the mat too, and they're like, oh, this is really hard, you know.
Yeah, I like that. This, you know, like I said, I mean, that's just really interesting to me because of the education background I have. The thing I liked the most about it was you talking about, you know, people coming in and expecting it a certain way, and then when they don't get it that way, they end up leaving. And the way you said that is like, the way you responded to that was the exact same way I used to respond. It was like, we don't want them anyway.
Absolutely. There's attitudes are contagious. I've got people in here right now that they'll say, I want to fight. Okay. Stand over here and do this one thing the entire class, and they can't handle that.
Yeah.
If they can't handle that, they can't handle a training camp for 8-10 weeks. You know, you do this exact stuff to cut weight, do this exact stuff to work out, do this exact stuff to prepare for the fight, technique-wise and everything.
Right.
If they can't, that's their health that's on the line. It's not mine.
Well, and it's a lot of the discipline behind that is interesting to me too, because this is what I was saying, why I think is really interesting, like parents being less, because I'm like I was saying earlier, I can see a lot of parents being hesitant about this, but understanding what's going on internally is where I think would be really interesting to people, because there is an incredible amount of discipline when it comes to any not just sport, any activity would you really want to get good at.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were saying, like go stand in the corner and just do this.
Yeah.
And that huge amount of discipline for anything you're doing.
I get parents like, oh, y'all charge per day, per week. I was like, if you get involved in this and you want to train once a week, or you want to train one day here or there, and you want to train for a week at a time, or I just want to do it for a month and see, I mean, there's a reason we do a 2-week for free trial. Everybody gets to come in for 2 weeks, see if they like it, and from there they make their decision. If they want to be here, they don't. But you don't get good at anything once a week, twice a week. 3 times a week, you start to kind of get competent a little bit. But I mean, the kids here and the adults here and the fighters here that are here every single day, the results speak for it. That the effort they put in is exactly what they're getting out. And the good thing for them to know is if they get beat by somebody, it's not for a lack of training and lack of effort. Maybe it's a mental thing. Like I have a mental issue sometimes when it comes to competition. Like I'm the one that will beat me.
Yeah, no, that's real.
And that's super real. That's a very tangible part of competition. Or you get beat because that person's better than you. Yep. Not because you didn't train hard enough, you didn't show up, you didn't do the dieting, you didn't do the exercise. So there's people that are just better. There's the level, and then there's the level.
Yeah,
and then there's the level. So.
Yeah. So this is something that I always just tell people was like, if you go into a competition, the only reason you should have lost was they were just better. Right. It should have nothing to do with the fact that you took that day off. You know what I mean?
Or that you snatched defeat out of the hands of victory yourself. That happens a lot.
That's so crazy to me. The parallels are blowing my mind right now because the thing I used to teach was very much not this. I taught band for a little bit, kind of as a freelancer, and I enjoyed it. But the parallels are the same, right? Like if you're going to sit here and think that you practicing once a week or whenever you have time is enough, you're terribly mistaken, right? And it's like with anything, like if you're not, depending on the level of like where you want to be, right? If it's just like you want to get in shape, fine, whatever. But if you want to be really serious about something and be excellent and excel in that, like it just takes way more than what a lot of people are willing to do.
Yeah, and that's all it boils down to. I mean, I know you guys are going to end up talking to Professor Bastos later on at some point. I mean, he's so cerebral in his approach. He doesn't sleep, and it's not because he doesn't want to sleep. I mean, but he'll say the same thing. He gets done with an event, and then as soon as he gets done with the event, he's thinking about the next one, and then he starts going, okay, so I've got this person competing, this person.
He lives it.
Oh yeah, I've got to do this person's training's got to be with him, so I need to be sure they have this many training partners at this weight, whatever. And I do the same thing to a lesser extent with MMA. I just don't have as many people. Yeah. But if I had as many people, then I would have to be like, okay, now I know I know what it's like to sleep 2 hours a day. So, but hats off.
So you guys, you guys are like literally like just living in this world. Like, and I wish more people had stuff like this. Like had something in their life that they enjoyed so much that it just like it consumed them, not in a bad way, but just like in a way that like you enjoy it that much. Like you're okay with it,
Yeah, everybody can find it. I mean, it's just, is it something that you love that's constructive enough?
Yeah, that's true.
People love Minecraft, and
that's true.
People love playing Candy Crush. Is it gonna improve your life?
Yeah, right. You're right. And that it's something. Well, that's actually interesting because there's some weird things going on right now. I mean, we're very heavy in like the tech world, and there are people who genuinely like love playing video games, for example. And 20 years ago, I would have been on the same boat. Like, that's a waste of time, right? But what's happening now in that world, which is really interesting to me because it's very parallel to what happened with UFC, is people who love it so much, they really dive into it and they really enjoy the mind games that happen in these video games. They're actually now getting paid millions of dollars to do this.
No, I've seen those little documentaries. But you see, though, the guys that get paid millions of dollars to do it, they have personal trainers, nutritionists, and they have workout and everything because they have to be physically and mentally alert. They eat right. So they're athletes in a way.
Yeah, and they're absolutely consumed by that world.
But they're not the person playing Warcraft in their mom's basement eating Cheetos and drinking Mountain Dew.
Yes. So this is a huge disconnect too, because it's the same thing. Like, you have people who do it as a hobby or because they enjoy doing it, right? But they're not consumed by it. Yeah. The way that a lot of people.
And that's what we try. That's the people that come in here and they don't want to do what's being asked of them by their coaches when they say, I have a goal, I want to fight someday. I want to be an MMA fighter. Okay, you got to do this stuff. Those people that want to come in and train just to tell people they train so they can have something to brag about when they're at Buffalo Wild Wings on Friday, Saturday night, wearing their American Fighter t-shirt, and when they take a picture, they've never fought, but when they take a picture, they hold their hand up like this with their friends. Those people don't last in gyms where the focus is on being a martial artist. Those people go to the gyms where it's be a fighter. Market yourself on social media as I'm this, I'm always looking for a fight, I stay ready, whatever. That's great. Who have you fought, and what was your attitude preparing for that, and what's your attitude preparing for the next one?
This is them, and this is really interesting because this stuff is happening in the social media world at a much larger extent than just the fighters. You have, and I've talked about this before, this thing where people get on social media and like to PR themselves. They want people to see themselves a certain way, even if it's not necessarily true. And one big thing that we see right now is you have people who are trying to become Instagram famous,
for sure,
and telling everybody they're like, oh, they're making it, and they're making a ton of money and stuff.
I need to talk to those people because I need more followers, so I can make some money.
Right?
Sure.
No, yeah,
I gotta do it.
No, it's really funny, and we'll talk about that too, because there's like a billion different things you can do. But it's really interesting to me that there's a lot of fake stuff happening, and Instagram's really, really bad about it because it is so easy for. And we were actually talking about doing a video about this. So easy for someone to go out, rent a really nice car for the day, right? Take some pictures, right? Have some of their hot friends that they knew in high school, look up, and then post a picture, and then get a bunch of followers based off of that, saying they're grinding and they're making a ton of money when actually they just rented the damn car or withdrew some cash from the little amount of cash they had in their ATM and threw it on the bed to take a picture.
Yeah,
that stuff is. There's something wrong with people that do that. Because it's why do other people's opinions matter that much to you that you're going to go out of your way to try and impress people you don't even know?
There's people that I see as fighters that they will every single day it's to take a training photo or whatever, but they didn't do anything at training. You know what I mean? Oh, hey, hold this and catch a video of me hitting mitts.
It's weird to me. I don't understand. I can't make that connection. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. People will do what they will, and then. I guess at the end of the day,
it's such a kind of a catch-22. I guess in any business really, but in this, you have to show people what you're doing, and you have to be able to put up videos of it and show because if you don't, that means there's no confidence in what you're doing. You don't want people to. If you say, "Oh, I can't show my secret techniques or my secret training," well, that means you're insecure about it.
Yep.
Because there's no secrets in this.
So there's a guy. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Eric Thomas. He's a motivational speaker. One of my favorite quotes from him is saying
"Is that you're drowning?"
That he does that one. Yes.
Yeah.
One of his quotes for me is really interesting. He says, "A real man in the dark is." I'm totally screwing this thing up. But basically, the premise behind the quote is if you aren't willing to do this when no one's watching, you're not really willing to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's I think that's the disconnect that a lot of people make on that is they want people to see them doing it, they want to look fancy, and like you're saying, show up with their shirts at Buffalo Wild Wings, and gosh, it's crazy to me.
I have this disclaimer. I do these instructional things sometimes, and I have this disclaimer of, please get professional help. You can even come here, whatever, blah, blah. Don't try this at home, especially don't do it at the Waterbury parking lot at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Because that's when everybody's a fighter, Ridiculous.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Everybody trains UFC. It's okay, you train UFC, right?
So did that, I'm not real sure on the timeline on this. When did UFC really start getting mainstream?
2004.
Yeah. So you were fighting before that in the year. You said 2000 was your first fight.
So when I started fighting, and I say more like 2005 is when it really started picking up. The Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonner fight is what catapulted it in the forefront.
Yeah.
But what brought that up? Well, before that, it was you would tell people I do NHB or Vale Tudo fighting or full contact fighting, because the MMA was not a term when I started doing it.
Right.
There was no MMA. It was I do NHB or whatever. So you would explain to people, I do this, and it's in a cage. Like, oh, WWF. So that's how far it was. There was no WWE at the time, you know. No. There's no chair shots or whatever. But there's wrestling, and there's choking people and grabbing the arm and stuff, but it's not fake. It's not and not even that stuff's not really fake. It is what it is. You know, it's scripted, but it's difficult. But.
No, and that's interesting to me too, because I know that's why a lot of people started watching it, was because it was real.
Yeah, it's all spectacle.
Yeah,
that was the idea behind it was spectacle, and now it's turned from spectacle to sport.
Yeah.
And with that, there comes this is the only sport or activity, as far as the cage fighting side of it, the MMA side of it. It's the only sport I've ever seen where, for sure, you guys. I mean, we're in West Texas, so everybody here talks about how they could have gone and played Division I, they could have been in the NFL or whatever. When they really I just didn't get a shot because the coach didn't like me. Yeah. It's like, well, you probably were horrible. You know?
Yeah, you're probably just a jerk. Like, you didn't do what you're supposed to.
What a lot of those people do is 90% of them will just be like, they're done. That is what it is. There's always going to be a small percentage of them that will still think that they can make it to the NFL when they're 35 years old and they never even played in college. They never even played at a high level in high school, and they still are playing for like these local like semi-pro teams or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
But so that's that little small group.
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts. It's the opposite. There's a 90% group that thinks, they call up and say, hey, I want to be the UFC. Okay.
Interesting.
I want to train. I think I can be a world champ, whatever. So you don't call up the Dallas Cowboys. You don't call up Jerry Jones and say, hey, I want to go ahead and try it for your team and I'm going to be your starting quarterback. No, there are levels to doing this. Well, some people need to realize it's for fun. You know?
What's really funny to me, it's so funny to me that there's that, that's massive, what's going on there, because there are less famous UFC fighters than there are famous NFL players.
Oh,
right?
For sure.
So the thought that I'm just going to come out of the woodworks and become a famous UFC, that blows my mind. There's no way someone should think that.
We will have, so a benefit of having Professor Bastos out here, and benefit of having myself out here, and we've swapped off of people that we know and introduced, and then established relationships crossing with each other, and then on our own, is we'll have people here. Bubba McDaniel was on the Ultimate Fighter season 17. I've known Bubba. I had my fourth fight when Bubba had his first fight in MMA in New Mexico in 2003, I think. He comes out here for training camps. He's done his last 7 camps with us. Yeah. Paul the Headhunter Buentello fought for the UFC heavyweight title. Yep. Didn't go the way he wanted, but I mean, he fought for the title.
Yeah.
Paul has had camps out here, several camps with us. We'll have these guys out here, and people won't even realize who they are. Yeah. But they're the biggest UFC fan. Yep. Those guys are right here. Yeah. We'll have Johnny Bedford's come out here. King Mo's come out here. You get all these guys come out here. Will Campazano. I have Josh Neer coming out here the end of the month. People have no idea who these guys are, but they don't understand. And Bruno gets on to me for it too, because I love jiu-jitsu, but I don't spend enough time studying the history. Right. But then I get mad. So I can totally understand where he's coming from, because I get mad at these people that come in that they want to train, they want to fight, but they don't know who Josh the Dentist Neer is. You don't know who Josh Neer is? You don't know who Paul Buentello is? You don't know who... I don't understand it. If you love it, you need to study. That's why I'm spending all my time now studying jiu-jitsu, so I can, when Bruno brings something, I go, I've seen it.
Yeah, and this is that's exactly what I was talking about. People not making that, it's this weird thing where people they want to be a part of a world that they see from the outside, but not, aren't willing to study the world as they're, even as they're entering it. If I were to come in there and, wanted to do this, for real, I wanted to be a fighter, if that was a serious goal for me, it would, first of all, it wouldn't just be a random decision, right? I mean, it would have to be a real conscious, on or off switch. You're either doing it or you're not. And then when you come into the world, if you were telling me some of those names, some of those I've not heard of. Right. immediately,
but you
I
don't
would
have
be
to.
like,
You don't have to know them.
Well,
but the people that are getting punched in the face for money, you need to know who they are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I come in here and I wanted to do that and say I'm going to be a fighter, and you told me some of those names, that night I would go home and like, I need to know these people.
Yeah.
Like, if they're spouting names at me, I don't want to look like an idiot, and I should know something about it. And that's the whole thing about just being consumed by the world in a way that, like, I mean, you should live it. You should live, sleep, and breathe it. Especially if you're going to walk into a room and get, punched in the face.
It's a lack of pursuit of the knowledge, and it's a lack of investment in the knowledge. Every single person. Again, we would rather have martial artists because they understand sacrifice. They understand that we had to pay our dues. We've had to sacrifice time with our families and doing stuff.
Yep.
And fighters. Again, there's a difference.
Right.
Fighters come in and they hey, I want to fight out of your gym. I'm not going to pay tuition, but I'll represent you guys and advertise for you guys.
I'm going to be big.
It's like we got guys that pay for tuition for them, and there's 4 kids.
Yeah.
They advertise for us too. I don't, just come in here and train and have fun and learn how to do something that you can enjoy for the rest of your life. If you want to fight, that's awesome. We'll help prepare you. But I would much rather someone come up to me and say, hey, I would like to train and know how to do this for self-defense purposes, to get in shape, to have a good time, than to say I want to fight. Because as soon as they say they want to fight, now I have an obligation to make your life miserable.
Yeah. It's better here than in a ring,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Yep. That's so cool to me. I mean, there's a lot of parallels with this when I think about in the business world. We do like business consulting sometimes with some people, and this idea, and we were talking to someone about this earlier, this idea that people can go into, like you were saying with MMA, or even like starting their own business, like there's a huge disconnect of what's actually happening behind the scenes, that people, make huge mistakes. With businesses, like whenever someone tries it, like who was saying the other day, we were talking to Melissa, I think. She said, yeah, I had a friend who's like, she was like, oh, I'm about to have a baby, so I think I'm going to start my own business so that I can like take care of my baby.
Home.
Like, do you realize what you're about to do? Like, you understand that not only are you losing your income, but you're going to have to work your tail off to even make a small living, and not understanding that, and it's a disconnect that happens like left and right.
I was in law enforcement. I get to see my son I actually did the math one time. I saw my son more in 6 months doing this than I did in 7 years of law enforcement. But that doesn't mean I'm working any less amount of hours.
Yep.
When I wake up in the morning, so my wife gets up. She's a figure competitor. So she does like the bodybuilding stuff.
Oh, nice.
So she's up at like 4:30 in the morning, and so sometimes she wakes me up then on accident. Sometimes on purpose.
Yeah.
Or I'll wake up at 6:30 or 7 or whatever. As soon as I get up, I know as soon as I look at that phone, I gotta return phone calls and text messages and private messages and DMs and all that stuff, and it's on until I go to bed. There's people calling.
Yep.
All day long, same questions from every single person.
Yep.
Same answers from me. So I get excited when people like give me some off the wall conversation. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, entertainment,
Yeah.
But you're doing it all day long, and then when you're not answering the phone, and even when you are answering the phone, you're up here at the gym, running a class, or running the desk, or running the trash, or cleaning the mats, or running to the store to get toilet paper, or it's an all-day thing.
It's nonstop.
And for people to say, I want to start my own gym or whatever, that's great. Most people that start their own gyms, the gym doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Oh, you have to have insurance. Oh, you have to have all these surety bonds.
All the little things. Yeah. And it's the business side of this. Like, and it's like that with anything really, because anybody that goes in may have a super great hobby. Like they love taking photographs, for example. There's a lot of that here. And then they want to start a photography business, and then don't realize oh crap, now I've got to take care of all this paperwork. I've got to make sure my clients are happy. Like, what happens if I get a call and they don't like it? Now I've got to deal with them because they don't want to pay now. Like, it's just, there's so much stuff that happens that is not directly related to why you love it, right?
Well, the issue that I see, because for sure that happens, and the issue I see from the other side of that as a competitor, like a competing business, is if you want to start another business, like another martial arts school, an MMA gym, if you want to start a kickboxing program, jiu-jitsu program, if you want to advertise that you have Muay Thai, you better have Muay Thai at the place. You better not be teaching cardio kickboxing. That's crap. That's not right. So whatever you say you're going to do it to the best of your abilities. However, you're doing a disservice to your students, and you're being disrespectful to the other people out there if you're doing it without you having to pay the dues that everybody else has.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been training for 10, 15 years, but during that time you spent 1 year being a student, you haven't paid your dues. Even though you've invested all your time,
right,
you haven't paid your dues for it. You haven't spent the time learning and getting beat every day, and the sweat of and the knowledge knowing you're not the best guy in the room and you'll never be the best guy in the room. I walk in here every single day knowing that I got guys that can beat me every single round, and if they and they have the same thing going on. If they want to start a school someday somewhere, you know, they get their black belt from Professor Bastos, they want to go start a jiu-jitsu school, they're going to have paid their dues. Whereas people do this particular job, especially when it comes to MMA, they learn stuff off of YouTube, they watch fights, they say, Holly Holm threw the question mark kick. I'm going to teach the question mark kick tonight. Okay. Do you know what went into setting that up? Do you know how the footwork was? Do you know what the feint was? Do you know what the reaction was? Do you know set it up? Do you know all the ins and outs of that from all of your years' experience, or did you just see it on TV and you're teaching people to do it and you're charging money for it?
Yep.
There's too many people here that charge money to teach kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever, that they have no idea what they're talking about. I've got a guy in the gym, in Professor Bastos, that has been doing jiu-jitsu since he's 8 years old. He's 36. 28 years, you know? And you start a program with, you know, your blue belt or your white belt or whatever. It's great that you're wanting to do that. Everybody has to start somewhere. But there's levels to this stuff, and for you to be trying to charge money or whatever when you haven't put your time in is stepping people back, because they're not getting the quality training. They're getting quantity for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, that I think same thing for a lot of things, right? Like people want to jump into stuff because they want to make money, and I get that. And the thing is,
it's awesome for them to be motivated about it and to have passion for it. That's the cool side. But again, when you got a martial arts school in town that all of a sudden like buys the marketing name of a kickboxing, a Muay Thai program, and they don't even teach Muay Thai. That to me is ridiculous.
And that's, I mean, that all that is like that stuff. I think that stuff plays itself out in the long run, because people recognize that stuff, you know, and they may not at first. They may pay the money at first, and they, you know, any business like that that's like faking their customers out is going to like float for a while. But in the long run, like especially, and this is interesting to me too, whenever the hype of like the MMA fighting starts to kind of like fade away, because it will, like everything else. When that goes away, so will those people. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like that with anything. Like the way that's, so for instance, right now, this, like, there's this big stick right now. Everybody wants to start their own business. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Like that's the big thing everybody wants to do, because there's money now, right? And there's people willing to like be venture capitalists. They want to like invest in these like apps and stuff that are being built. And it's real fine and dandy because there's money around right now. Whenever a crash comes, which we've seen before, a recession comes,
all the time,
all those people get smoked out and they leave and they're gone, and then all the people that are left are the ones that are serious about it.
Which is kind of like a good thing. That's when you see like the oil bust. It's pretty good, because it's kind of like a cleansing. Kinda, you know, it's all the people that were like the fly by night. They're doing the crappiest job for undercut rate. It's not quality. They're willing to go in and do that. They don't really last whenever the bust happens. Then all you're left with is the quality people.
The people that like are really invested in the city, right?
For sure.
And it's the same thing with the activity. When that stuff gets smoked out, you're left with the people that are actually invested in it. So it goes with anything. Anyway, so cool. Tell us again, name, what's going on, so we can kind of just close this out. That'd be awesome.
So, Bruno Bastos Jiu-Jitsu, we have 2 weeks for free for everybody.
That's cool.
The goal is be a martial artist. Come here, train with one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world. I mean, he's won world championships. He's been invited to the most prestigious events in the world, competing in them. So as far as anything you need grappling-wise, 100% covered. For people that want to do kickboxing, I teach kickboxing here. I've been doing the kickboxing side of it, Muay Thai, Sanshou kickboxing, MMA, under my coach Mike Altman from Houston, Texas, since 2005. So 12 years under him as an instructor. And the goal here is have fun, learn, improve yourself. You know, be the inspirational, motivational quotes that you put on your Instagram. Actually, kind of try to do some of that.
Yeah.
Reinforce that a little bit. That's the goal here. That if people want to fight or whatever, that's great. Invest some time in learning about yourself and figuring out if that's even something you want to do first, and then we kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
But I always tell people let's try to have fun and not get hit in the head. That's my big part. I definitely think you guys will get a lot more in-depth, Professor Bastos, about kind of his philosophy with everything. But anybody wants to come here, it's BastosBJJMidland.com. And if you want to check out when I talk specifically about MMA stuff, I've got a YouTube channel. It's High Fight IQ.
Awesome. Okay.
So you can go to that. I've got interviews with like King Mo from Bellator, Mike the Truth Jackson, Bubba McDaniel, Johnny Bedford, Paul Buentello. So a lot of personalities in the MMA world. So and we talk about events, current events, what's going on, break down fights. So it's pretty fun. So High Fight IQ on YouTube is cool.
We'll check them out.